He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of fair Gotham, and welcome once again to Bat Minute and Robin, the show that defends what it knows is right. That this movie is a masterpiece, allegedly. 3 days a week, I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And here is a co-host who will talk about Batman as long as he still lives. It's me, Niall McGowan.
Please, you're now going to speak like that for the entire episode.
Apparently my Alfred impression has it's gone down well with people, so I don't think people would complain if I was just doing the Alfred voice for the rest of the show. Even deep into like Michael Caine seasons, just be like, yes, it's still me over here.
Oh my God, no! Then we have to do a Michael Caine one. That's the future of the show.
As soon as Michael Caine shows up, it's going to have to be a seismic shift into like, hello, then now I'm Alfred.
Master Wayne, I failed you.
That was good. Holy crap!
I won't bury another Batman from the bridge.
Well, listeners, you can hear two other voices here. We are joined by very special guests. We have Alex Thompson and Phil Dragash.
Hello.
Yeah, hey, hi.
Hey.
I'm Alex.
I'm back. And Alex is here. And I'm back.
Yes.
I'm back for the third time. Wait, fourth time.
Fourth time.
I'm back in the fourth time. Yeah, of course. There's 4 movies. What am I talking about? Hey, it's great to be back.
One of those scenarios where like, guests who have both been on individually in the past now joined together for the first time.
Well, it's like Batman and Robin, right? That's the whole
Yes.
point, right?
Yeah.
Alex and Phil.
Yeah, we're making
Alex and Phil.
combo meal.
I will be the Poison Ivy to Phil's Mr. Freeze, I suppose.
Oh, I want to be Poison Ivy. God damn it. I'll let you off.
That's by you complaining in that fashion, John, means that you are now default Robin. Because I want to be Poison Ivy.
Oh,
I want to be Poison Ivy.
Can't I at least be Robin in the last movie when he's got a cool earring?
And be Robin and Batman.
If the earring improved them that much for you, then yeah, by all
Yeah, it
means.
did. Yeah, it's all about the earring. The earring's gone. It's you just don't notice him anymore.
That was
He's
his
done.
whole gimmick.
He's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
a
surprised.
very
Yeah, this whole season we haven't got to say sparkle, sparkle.
I was about to say that. Screw you. Anyway, we are here to talk about minute 91. The minute starts with a rather bizarre saying, and it ends with a sweet kiss.
That's weird now because we've
The
just like,
sweetest of kisses.
you know, getting them like, guys, for some crazy fun times. And now it's like, this is like the most genuinely sad minute of the whole goddamn franchise. It's like,
I was so excited when I got minutes. I'm like, let's look at some weird campy sort of thing. And it's like, oh, acting.
Acting.
although
yes.
much like every other batch of minutes in this movie, you will get occasional bits where it's like really dramatic and really good. But by the end of the week, it's back into campy.
Yeah.
bullshit again.
Yeah,
Yep.
well.
So we are back as we find out where victory comes from. He finishes his sentence, and Alfred tells us that it is defending what we know is right while we still live.
That's it. That's a,
Is it?
It's a really nice sentiment, but then it's also like there's a lot of people who believe things and are willing to fight for them, but those things might not be right.
Racists.
Yeah, like there's
Okay.
people, you know,
Yeah.
currently within the cultural climate who are absolutely certain about certain things like vaccines
Oh, yeah.
and are willing to, like, there's riots happening in Europe at the minute all about this. And it's just like, well, they are right, you know. Like, they are convinced that they are correct, but it's just like, yeah. So Alfred saying this is like, well, I mean, I get it's good with Batman, I guess, but
I suppose you could argue, at least from his point of view, it's a personal victory. You feel, I've succeeded for me in my terms.
Yeah,
I guess.
Maybe. Perhaps. Maybe. That is my statement.
Oh, I was like, oh, what's it building to?
this guy's got something really important to say.
No. I'm following your lead this time. Come on, let's go.
But yeah, actually, what I do like is because obviously we'll touch on it within the next few minutes, but because then Bruce has a very specific memory when Alfred says this, but in the novelization they actually changed that memory to him remembering him as an adult and Alfred working on the first bat suit. And he says, it mentions that Alfred seemed more determined than Bruce himself to get it right. So Alfred's saying this is kind of like, I'm acknowledging that I'm proud of everything that you've done. And Bruce is then remembering, he always was behind me, Ben Batman. Yeah, that does track. Even though in the movies we've seen, doesn't entirely track because he didn't seem to be that into it in '89. But
things change.
Things change.
Yeah, maybe he was really into it to begin with, and then suddenly was like, you know what? I'm against this.
I know this is a weird thing to nitpick in this movie. I wish we hadn't seen the cutaway to the flashback here. I wish you had just, because George Clooney can act and Michael Gough can act. Yeah. I wish we had just kind of stayed on their faces and let's see the emotion in their faces. I didn't necessarily need to see, a flashback to here's Alfred reading little Bruce a book.
I get that. Yeah, but I always felt that this movie, watching it from beginning to end, it is very broad strokes.
Yeah,
many times, and I don't want to bring in something like Kabuki theater, but I wanted to bring in something like that. That's very. It's all about really, really broad statements of what's going on. In fact, George Lucas would say it's something like a silent film. You can watch it on mute and you know what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this
rhymes.
definitely
it's like poetry.
And I agree with you, Alex, that it's not necessary exactly. But
it's not necessary. It also feels like you've got an actor here. Put the money on screen. George Clooney is some of the money here.
I totally agree. But do you think it's just to sort of placate children? Because they're skewing to a younger audience now. So
That's
they're
true.
Kids would be confused.
There's
What's he
something
looking at? What's he looking at?
Yeah, I think I'm coming from a place of I wish this was a more sophisticated movie than it was. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I should actually ask though up front before we get into critique. Because it's always good to know with a movie
we just kind of rolled in there.
Yeah, it's always good to know with a movie so divisive as Batman and Robin where the guests are actually coming from. So what do you guys individually actually think of this movie?
Alex, you may go first.
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. I accept it for what it is. Clearly, I'm on record as very much being into Forever. So that was kind of my line of campiness. A little bit over that was would have been crossing past the line for me, and this is sometimes just getting a little silly. But
it's a little silly.
a little bit.
Just a little.
I can appreciate it, and there are certainly it's certainly a a sufficient movie for me to put on, on the background while I'm, cleaning my office or something. But honestly, I don't have a lot of dislike for it. I accept that it is a movie made full of compromise and made primarily with capitalist visions in mind. But
fair enough. Phil?
I have a very interesting relationship with this film.
Ooh.
Just because I was the right age to have watched this when I did, which was 1997, and that would make me 8. And back then, when I was a kid, it's the newest one. And I just wanted a little side note. I was listening to Batman and Robin since you started, and so every night when I go out for a walk and just walk around the streets, I would just be listening to you guys talk. So I just want everyone to know that it's kind of funny that I'm on the podcast now while I was listening to the show this entire time as it started. Every episode showed up. A
dedicated follower.
Yeah, totally. I love you guys, and this is why I'm here. I'm just so happy to be here in the 4th installment. It's great. And that being said, you guys have a lot of people who have spoken about the same thing where you're a kid and you're like, "What's the newest? It's the best."
Yeah,
You know?
I was exactly the same. That
was my voice when I was a
Jurassic
kid.
Park
It's the
2.
newest,
Oh, that one's way better than one.
Yeah,
totally.
I need to. I feel like I need to throw that asterisk on there, though. That, like, yes, I was around that same age when this came out. So at the time, I was not, a some smart ass 9-year-old breaking down the poor cinematography or the fact that these shots are still out of focus and made it into the final film.
Right.
I was happy that Batman and Robin were on screen, and I was getting to watch them do Batman and Robin stuff.
Yeah. And so that being said, I thought that this was the bee's knees. I thought this was fantastic, and anything that it would show, I would be like, well, that's de facto the best way to present the material. Obviously, I like the Tim Burton Batman. I only had Batman Returns on VHS, but when the new one came out and I watched it, I'm like, yeah, there's more colors, there's a better villain, there's a better everything. George Clooney is a better Batman. I don't know why. It's just the newest, it's the best.
Yeah.
And that being said, it's hard for me to watch this movie without that kind of remnant of how I was thinking at the time when I was a kid, because it latches onto you, It latches onto you like a tick, like the bat tick.
New character coming soon.
The bat tick. And so watching it, I'm so desensitized with any kind of objective criticism towards it, just because of how many times I've actually seen it throughout the years and how my perception of it changed. That being said, I mean, it is kind of lame, isn't it?
But that's why we like
it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I admire the visual and tonal strangeness that it is. There's something about a movie like this that was made by Joel Schumacher, was written the way it was, and had people working on it that is, it's different than the movies that are coming out now that are of this size.
Totally agree. Yeah, you wouldn't get a movie like this now.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Unfortunately, no.
I can't remember, and I may have quoted this on the last Schumacher movie. I think Lindsay Ellis on YouTube was comparing Schumacher and Chris Columbus, and she said, Chris Columbus is boring and competent. Joel Schumacher is neither of those.
Yeah, whether you like his movies or not, they're never dull.
Yeah.
It's not boring.
I know she had a lot to say about his rendition of Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, I think that's where she got onto
Yeah,
that.
I think we have to, because I know.
Yeah.
I think Alison Grimm, apparently, she's a massive Phantom fan, despises that movie. So it's like, oh, we gotta get you on to talk about Joel Schumacher's Phantom of the Opera.
I think she was up for it, wasn't she?
I think we'll be doing it in the hiatus, probably.
Yeah.
Why not? But
Yeah.
Well, with this minute we're looking at, the only thing I can think of as he's laying there in bed is he's about to turn around and say, "There is another way."
What was that moment in Return of the Jedi too? This voice goes funny because it goes like Sky. Like his voice goes really high for
He's dying, Niall.
Yeah, but I thought like Frank Oz would be like, it distracted me as a kid that his voice went weird and high.
He's dying. What you? Jesus Christ! Cut him some slack.
Is another Skywalker.
Oh, that was beautiful. It brings tears to my eyes just hearing you do it.
Well, it's almost appropriate because when he looks over to the bed in the other room or whatever it is, like this flashback is taking place in. At first, it does have like a bed with nothing in it, but like a groove, like much like the body has disappeared, like Yoda.
When Michael Goff dies in this, he just disintegrates like.
This is why I like movies by minutes. I love it that you just notice these things that no one's ever gonna notice, and we're just gonna mention it, and it is hilarious.
And nobody's ever going to bring it up ever again. It's probably
No, but that's what's so great about it.
Why hasn't that pillow been fluffed in 30? How old is Bruce? 35?
I think it's 36. Yeah. This is supposed to be old Batman. 36. Jesus Christ.
Old Batman.
I don't know if like Alfred, is this a spare room? Does he have guests? This is like, when I have like when a lady stays over or something. Like,
I think this mansion has about 500 bedrooms, and if you feel like a break, you want a little holiday, you just go into one of the other rooms.
That's why I always felt in The
That's right.
Shining. It's like if I was that family, I can't be sleeping in every different room every night. It's like, let's go ahead, go crazy with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's something exciting about that. It's so exciting.
Then again, I don't know if it's just me. I do find it hard to sleep in a bed that's not my own bed. Could just be me. Like in a hotel, I never have a proper good sleep. Or
Yeah, I've had to get a ferry a couple of times at night, and it's a bit like, even though you're in a room by yourself, it's like, I don't know, man. It just feels weird.
Oh man, yeah. The worst thing is that I am used to sleeping with. I need 2 pillows.
Oh, yeah.
I need 2. Yeah, and so whenever there aren't 2 pillows, it's ruined. It's done. I'm not gonna be comfortable. Sleep's gonna be bad.
Yep.
The day is ruined.
Like roll up
The
your
day is
coat
ruined.
and put that underneath the pillow or something. I was like, no, it's not the same. It's not the same texture.
Yeah, I know.
I always remember
Tragedy.
a guy recommending
Tragedy.
for this little side tangent for people. Anyone now that festivals are like up and running again, hopefully. A guy recommended to me one time that like the best way to optimize your drinking at a festival while also making something that make you comfortable is to bring in boxes of wine, because you can take them out of the box and they're in a little plastic like bubble thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And so you drink that wine, and then in the evening you blow up that bubble and seal it, and then that's like a little pillow that you can put your head on and stuff.
Oh wow! Hey, nice.
That's a seasoned pro right there.
No idea who that guy was. Met him one time, but that information has remained with me for like 15 years now.
Well, if you're listening, person from 15 years ago, thank you.
Yeah.
This mysterious stranger.
Speaking of things that have remained with us for 15 years now, I was watching this scene and then looking at his filmography and somewhat surprised that George Clooney managed to become a movie star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was watching this scene, and even in this scene, which is like the acting scene, I wasn't overly impressed with his performance, and some of that I think was the editing, made it feel a little hammy. But then I was looking at his filmography and trying to like pinpoint the point where he becomes a movie star, because it certainly could have been very possible that the TV star does a big blockbuster film, the film is poorly received, and his career just kind of founders out from there. Maybe he does another TV series afterwards. But I was having troubles even just finding the point where he goes from being like George Clooney, the dude from ER, to George Clooney. Like I clearly saw, like by 01, he's in Ocean's 11, and he's clearly George Clooney by then.
Yeah,
but
that's
at
probably
this
around the
point,
time I
he
paid
had-
attention to him. Is around then.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe The Peacemaker or Thin Red Line, like
From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know.
But even Dusk Till Dawn that was his first thing, but he wasn't a star at that point. I don't know that made him. That didn't make him blockbuster, bang.
So it must be like such a. It shows you the quick turnaround of this movie, though. That comes out in '96, and apparently one of the things that twigged on Joel Schumacher to casting George Clooney was like he just saw a poster for it or an advert for it in a newspaper, and he just drew the bat ears on George Clooney, and he was like, "Yep, that's what I need." And then like within the year, the guy was Batman out in the cinema and stuff.
See, this is why I'm here. I'm listening to Niall talk about all this trivia that I've never heard of before. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Phil.
There's some stuff I like Clooney doing here, and there's some stuff I don't like. This particular bit, there's one thing I do enjoy, which is, he, to me, it seems his eyes are kind of welling up. It's like crying
do,
you
yeah,
do
they
when
are.
you're trying hard not to cry, He's doing that well.
Yeah. Although you guys, like we mentioned it last week, but it might behoove you to know, this is actually the first scene of the whole movie that they shot. So this is Clooney's first like scene as Batman. Is like, okay,
This is before he knows what he's gotten himself into.
yeah, they come in and it's like, all right, I have to pretend I've known this guy who everybody who watches this franchise has known for 4 movies now. I've just met him today.
Yeah.
But I have to pretend like he's my
Yeah.
dad, essentially.
That is so weird to me, because what I know you need to film things out of order, of course, but I still think you should save this for the last scene you shoot. Just to get a little bit of that real emotion, because he'll have become a bit attached to him by the end of the
Yeah,
shoot.
yeah.
So,
I guess
Play
it
on
is.
it.
Like it just gives them time though. Like we got to build a big telescope set and stuff. It's like, oh, we'll just shoot some of the little things.
Yeah, but you can do
I
this in any
can't
random
remember.
room.
I think typically, I want to say you usually shoot action scenes either really, really early or really, really late. I think you do action scenes really late so that everyone can prepare for them. And you do usually like the shirtless scenes now that everyone gets super jacked and cut for movie.
Even
for
if it doesn't fit the
superhero movies.
character.
Yeah. Star-Lord. You do those at the beginning because like actors have to prep for days to get that cut and lean.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of it, sometimes you just have to kind of fit it around people's schedules. I suspect they probably didn't want to like try and have Michael Gough at the very end of the shoot. Maybe.
Yeah.
It could just be down to that. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I think maybe we'd get an even better performance out of Clooney here, but I don't mind what.
Honestly, I think it's quite nice. I'm watching it on loop, and I think he did a pretty good job for one.
I think the editing is not I think the editing is not helping it. I think
no, it's not. But
it does bring me to tears a little bit actually when he says, "I love you, old man." It's like, oh, he means it. I get the impression that he's maybe never ever said this to Alfred before.
Oh yeah, I think that's 100% the implication.
I get that impression.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it shows like how these two have kind of resigned themselves to the end at this point. Like now is the time to say it.
Yeah. I think that's the implication, is that like Bruce Wayne is a man who was so emotionally stunted that for 30 years he was obsessed with the death of his parents, and his way of working around that was to become Batman. So like he couldn't just come out and talk about how much he missed them and stuff and how devastated he was. He had to channel it through that. But now in this movie he's supposed to be better, I guess. He's supposed to be kind of over it. So now he is able to come out and go like, okay, I can express my feelings now.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I can't believe this, because I think it's in the script, it's in the novelization, and it must have been a very deliberate like thought process to cut it.
Oh, if it's the thing that I've written down, I love it.
But no, it's the...
What is it?
The fact, like, in this... originally, and I could have sworn in my head I had it like, no, that's what he says, but apparently he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like Bruce says, "I love you, old man," and Alfred's, in my mind, says, "And I love you too, son." And that's supposed to be him saying, "I think of you as my son," and it's not in the movie. Like,
but it is in the novelization, is it?
It's in the novelization. It's in the script. That he has that.
Coming off all the Star Wars talk, I thought you were going to say, and Alfred says, "I know."
Oh, that'd be great.
I know.
Actually, the full thing he says in the script is even better, I think, because he says, Bruce says, "I love you, old man," and then he says, "Remember this and remember it always. I am proud of you, and I love you too, son." Oh.
Why would they cut him saying son? Like that's the emotional culmination.
You're not allowed emotions in this movie. It's a silly
true.
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice.
This moment,
it works better on paper. That's a lot of words for a movie that's like, can we get back to the things blowing up in the right colors?
Can we make another freezing gag, please?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering though, because they've changed Alfred being like, the ex-lover of Barbara's mother, and the implication there being potentially that he might be her dad. And now they've taken out him calling Bruce son. Is it like nobody wants to think about this old guy shagging people? Like, just remove any kind of thing that might put that in your mind.
No, yeah, you're right.
Alfred is not a sexual being, nor has he ever been.
Until you get to the Pennyworth show.
Yeah, and then he's
jeez, is that even that came out, right?
Yeah.
That's getting to season 3 now, apparently, on HBO Max.
Season 3? What cave was I in this entire time?
And that show, Alfred, he is swinging. He is he's hanging about with Aleister Crowley. He's banging the queen. He's doing everything, that guy.
Jesus.
I remember you mentioning that in one of the episodes prior.
Yeah. Previously on
Just
Batman.
banging the queen.
Presumably he's here, in this little flashback reading to Bruce. He's just got back from Buckingham Palace. He's just had his way with Queen Elizabeth. He's like, oh, right, okay, now.
He's just like, hey, kid, you want to know what happened in that bed before you got it? I can't legally tell you for a couple of more years. But that's the taking out the son. I don't, because one of the things is like looking at interviews, like for the people out promoting the movie and stuff. And Alicia Silverstone actually has a very nice thing to say about it, where they're asking her like what she thinks the appeal of the movie is and stuff, beyond it being like toys and things like that. And she comes out with a statement about like, oh, it's a very nice message about found family, that like your family, it doesn't have to be your blood. It can be the people you meet along the way. And then, these people in this, they're not related, but they become family. And so Alfred, in a way, is like, well, he's not blood relative to Bruce. But he is his dad. Like, that's who he is. Like,
well, he's raised him. Yeah.
Yeah. They even had that really nice... Tom Taylor did a not Tom Taylor of Indiana Jones Minute, but the DC writer Tom Taylor had that thing out like in Batman Annual 3 in like 2018. We had a little short story called Father's Day about, you know, Alfred and all the toiling he has to do and constantly fixing up Bruce, and like how he himself gets injured but he just has to keep going on and stuff. And like at the end of that had a very nice moment where like he wakes up and Bruce is doing everything for him, and he's like, Alfred, I don't want you to worry about today. Like just take the day off, have a rest.
Aww.
And then he says like, well, what's the day, Master Bruce? And he's like, just go to bed, Alfred. And like, just the title comes up, Father's Day, and it's a picture of Alfred and Bruce when they're like Bruce is a kid and stuff. I was like, that's a nice story because he is his dad.
Man.
And then to take it out of this movie, I don't know if it's like they wanted to emphasize the found family aspect, so they thought if he refers to him as son, that would take away from it because it's making it very literal, or if people would be confused by it. But it's to me, it's like it's one of the many things that this movie does wrong.
Yeah, the found family theme is still there, but themes and motifs are not things that they were going for / able to preserve in the process of making this.
It's a shame.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said, actually.
Yeah.
Thinking about the entire movie as a whole.
If you want a superhero movie that's got that theme and motif in it, just go watch Guardians Volume 2.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And again, I think
Lindsay
they
Ellis
probably...
has another good video all about that as well, as I recall.
I assume as well, they probably thought, yeah, kids won't understand. Because kids will be going, that's not his dad, that's his butler. Yeah. It's like, shut up, child, you don't get it.
So speaking of Alfred and sex, it's a segue.
Nice.
The kiss, the fact that there's a kiss does not bother me. The fact that it's like a kiss on the neck, maybe it's just the way it's framed or the way that it's delivered. It looks like he is initiating making out.
Oh God! I just
I
saw
thought it was the kiss of the vampire. You know, he's a he's a man.
Yeah, something like that. Like he's maybe going in for a vampiric,
vampire. I must drain you of your remaining energy so I can become strong.
It's the man himself.
There you go.
Nice. For anybody who doesn't know what that inside joke is, it's a very funny one. It's my Instagram. It's my Instagram name. It is the man himself because I was watching Dracula at the time and I was like, that sounds hilarious. I'm putting that in.
It's a great line.
Maybe one of those vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn actually did get him.
Yeah.
Plot twist. Batman is a vampire.
That's why Batman only comes out at night. So he went to Tijuana, got caught in those goddamn vampire den. And then, now this is what's happening.
We've uncovered.
They definitely made a comic about Batman being a vampire, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it absolutely has. What was it? Justice League Gods and Monsters was an animated movie. It was just kind of like, let's do an alternate version of the big three and we're just not going to bother with any of the canon. We're just going to take kind of the basic plot threads, and they made Batman, I think, an actual vampire.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That is really cool. Yeah.
I think there's a 3-part one as well, where, it's all about Batman becoming a vampire, and it's like the most insanely violent comic I've ever read, because he's just like,
really?
Once you take away the morals, this guy's a fucking monster. Like, he just goes ripping people's throats out left and center and stuff.
Yeah.
As an actor, I guess, if you're doing theater, and then as a filmmaker, if you're shooting the shot, it is something you have to worry about when you've got a kiss happening and people are at very different height levels. It's something that I have to worry about as a big tall person. Obviously not so much now since I kiss one person, but is that a kiss can very quickly turn into a Dracula bite if there's a significant height change that has to happen.
See, I'm never going to see this the same again, because I just thought it was a kiss on the cheek, maybe a little high up. But now I'm looking at it and it's like, it kind of does look a bit like the neck.
Oh no,
it does, yeah.
Especially like Bruce's, because his only intimacy is like all these sort of floozies he's had to keep up the image of being Bruce Wayne. So he's like, I don't know how to actually kiss people. So
it just starts tugging him off
sad.
under the sheets. Okay.
He doesn't understand. This is the late 90s. This is the mid-late 90s. Men being in touch with physical intimacy that is non-sexual is not a thing yet. So he doesn't understand how to kiss someone in any way other than as the first step of sex.
I like that, though. Maybe not the sex bit, but I like that he doesn't know how to do it because of what you're saying, but he is anyway. He's like,
Yeah.
I love you. I need to give you this nice embrace. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's a European thing, but I'm going to give it a go.
It could also be George Clooney been like, this guy is like 90. I don't really want to break him.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful with what I'm doing. So it's just I only met him today. Like, it's the first scene. I don't want to kiss this guy. Oh.
By the end of the shoot, they were kissing every day.
But we did skip over, though, and speaking of things like found family and whatnot, there is a little clip of Alfred reading to Bruce. Did any of you guys catch what book he's reading him?
No, I
Because this one I actually had to, like, I was like, because the thing I've discovered from doing this show is that there is everything you could possibly ever want to know about the first two Batman movies it's been listed on a website somewhere. It's been analyzed to death. Batman Forever, kind of.
Quite a lot Forever, yeah.
No one cares enough about Batman and Robin to list these things, so I've had to go and do the research myself.
I'm looking at the shots. I only see the inside of the book. I don't think we ever see the spine.
Oh, I had in order to get this, I had to sit with the headphones on, carefully listen to what he said, and manage then to pick out what he was actually saying, and then type that into Google. And thankfully, the book is famous enough that like a single line will bring up exactly what it is. And he's reading Oliver Twist to him, which is
well.
Yeah, for famous orphans, Bruce Wayne.
How fascinating.
Then again, I don't want to rank people's grief and things, but there's a bit of a difference between the story of Oliver Twist and Bruce Wayne's being an orphan.
Yeah. I think maybe they found like the one line. It's like you can apply that to Bruce Wayne, I guess, because
the one line, yeah.
Honestly, what they did is they said, okay, we want a story that's like somewhat thematically related. I don't know. I haven't read since 4th grade. He's an orphan. What's an orphan book?
Yeah, Oliver Twist.
Nailed it.
He's reading from the book of Annie. It's a hard knock life, Master Bruce.
Can he read a novelization of Zorro? Is that too on the nose?
That would have been gold. Oh my God.
But then the actual the section he's reading, it comes from a bit where when Oliver has been taken in by, what's it called, Mr. Brownlow, like the rich guy who ends up adopting him. But his friend Mr. Grimwig is there, and this lady Rose. And Mr. Grimwig, in talking about Oliver, says, "I'll eat my head if he's not a bad one." And Rose says, "He is a child of noble nature and of noble heart, and that power which is thought fit to try him beyond his years has planted in his breast affections and feelings which would do honor to many who have numbered his days 6 times over," which is a very difficult sentence to get out. And Michael Goff did it way better than I did when he dubbed that younger version of him.
Well, no offense to you, but he's a professional.
Yeah.
He certainly, even though he's mostly done a lot of like Hammer horror type stuff, he's certainly done Shakespeare in his time.
Oh, 1,000%. You can tell it's the delivery. He's an actor.
Knowing that the book is Oliver Twist, I so wish he was just reading the score from Oliver instead.
Never before has a boy asked for more. He gets up and does all the dancing himself. Alfred going, "Who will buy my 1,000 roses?"
Hey, like in the new Mary Poppins, you had Dick Van Dyke getting up and boogieing.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting back to Guardians Volume 2.
Well.
I'm Master Wayne. I'm Mary Poppins.
But I did look up. I will say though that is at least a decently chosen line, because this idea that Bruce Wayne himself is after all the stuff he's had piled on him, he's turned it into something that would do honor to people 6 times his age and stuff. It's like, oh, that's kind of tying into Batman, I guess. But I did also look. This launched me down on the line of like, well, are there any other connections between Batman and Oliver Twist? And beyond things like, you can say Jason Todd is kind of an artful dodger type when he comes into Bruce's life. Or there's they call it the Underdwellers episode of the animated series where the villain is essentially Fagin. Like, he's just this guy who like takes kids in to be pickpockets for him. Yeah. But he's much more evil than Fagin was. The big connection I got was there is an issue, Batman 222, with the storyline, and that's from June of 1970. The storyline is dead ... till proven alive.
Oh.
where the front cover is fantastic because it's the Beatles essentially crossing. It's the recreation of the Abbey Road cover, but from a different angle. And Batman and Robin are watching them, and they say, "Here they come. One of them is dead, but which one?" And basically, the storyline is that because it was made in 1970. There's a band in Gotham. Well, they're from Liverpool, but they're called the Oliver Twists, and they are essentially the Beatles. Like the main singer is a guy called Saul Cartwright.
Oh yes, that very English name right there.
Saul Cartwright.
And there's a guy called Glennon, things like this. But yeah, the whole rumor is like Dick is at college, and everyone's going crazy for these hep cats, the Oliver Twists. But the rumor is, if you listen to the record backwards, it tells you that Saul Cartwright is dead.
I was going to say, is it that joke about Paul McCartney being dead? Oh my God,
buried
it is.
Saul.
That's it. It's the whole basis is like, and Dick is so like, oh my God, is Saul Cartwright dead? So of course Batman and Robin have to investigate this because they got nothing else to do with their time. Actually, Batman does have a quote saying, if a case is too small for Batman, I'll hang up my cowl, because even they're acknowledging this is a waste of Batman's time.
He's got nothing to do. He's at a loose end that weekend.
The most ridiculous part is at the end it's revealed, and like what these guys are all like shooting at them and stuff to stop Batman from uncovering this mystery. And he finds out that, if people don't know, the long-standing fan theory with the Beatles is that Paul McCartney died years ago, and that he's been replaced by ever since.
You know what makes me laugh about that rumor is that, like, okay, maybe that would happen, maybe, but people say, well, if you look at this album cover, there's a clue.
Yeah.
Why would they leave a clue? Why would they be putting clues on the albums for you?
Seriously.
But that within the story, that is the mystery. Like, oh, everyone thinks Saul Cartwright has died, and he's been replaced by just some other guy. Batman investigates it. He finds out that Saul Cartwright is the only one of the band who is the legitimate guy. The rest of them died in quote, a plane crash where they crashed on a plane that was taking them to groove to the sounds of the mysteries of the East. And it's very much the Sgt. Pepper's level of the Beatles. Like, they're all in like the multicolored tunics and stuff. And then he finds out that like, oh, the rest of them all died. He then concocted this, I'll get a bunch of replacements in, and then for some reason was like, I'll start spreading the rumor that I'm dead, so nobody suspects the other guys.
Wouldn't it be easier just not to mention it at all?
Yeah. I think
Seriously, man.
The thing is, like, towards the end of the story, like, the other members of the band are like actively pulling out guns at Batman and shooting at him until the jig is up, and then he's just like, oh, okay, get out of here. And then they just go on, and like it's just announced that no one cares that they're all replacements, and they just go about their business.
This is such a wonderful story. I can't believe this wasn't a movie.
I mean, they did shoot that Batman movie in Liverpool.
I'm still stuck on that name, the Oliver Twists. That it really sounds like the Liverpudlian version of the Simpsons joke. We need a name that's witty at first, but that seems less funny each time you hear it.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Be sharps.
And the I don't know, Oliver Twists. That's not very Liverpool.
It's not very.
That's
Beatles.
Very London.
Yeah,
no. It feels like a 50s band more so than a 60s, 70s
I can imagine
band.
that, actually.
It's just one of those things of like it's written by an American writer who just sort of knows about English things, but like...
Yeah, but just look up some kind of Beatles thing. Just call them like Penny Lane or something.
Penny Lane. Nice.
You just get like little things about like, oh, you're losing in cars tonight, blokes. It's like, no one uses blokes like that. Like, I do remember reading fan fiction one time, years and years ago. I can't even remember what it was about. But I remember it was written, one of the characters was supposed to be English, and to convey this, the writer kept having them say to the Americans, "Balmy Yanks." And like, no one in England has said "barmy" since 1971. Like, it's just not a term that's ever
I'm pretty sure
used.
the only people who say it even are, again, Cockneys say it, and does Scots say it?
I don't think they even do now. I think they used to.
No, I don't. That doesn't sound Scottish either.
But right, I'm not a football fan, listeners, as you know. But now you might know. I know you're not a football fan either, but don't like the Rangers, Glasgow Rangers, don't they call their fans like the Barmy Army or something?
I do not know, but I know that another term for a sandwich is a barm, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like this is going to start a whole big debate. There's a massive argument in the UK about what you call like a bread roll. Every 5 minutes that you move up the road, the name changes for this thing.
The Barmy Army is both a group that organizes the fans of and also a name for the fans of the English cricket team.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a sports person.
Army.
I don't know.
I don't know anything.
There.
I know nothing. I know
If it
nothing.
comes to sports, I can tell you about football, soccer, up to 1998. and then I'm out.
Better than I can do.
I do kind of.
Wow, that was Australian. Sorry.
I do like what other things Alfred could be reading to Bruce though. Like at that age, would it be just?
The once and future king.
I think
This was like
it's
another
the
connection
Marquis
to
de Sade.
Or he's reading him to like Bruce's subscription to Radical Orphans Monthly, the thing that Dick Grayson was reading earlier.
How old is Bruce meant to be there? Because I feel like by the time I was that age, I was not getting stuff read to me anymore. I bet.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I wouldn't have wanted them sitting there reading. I'd want to be on my own. Give me my magazines.
I kind of got the vibe though, because it seems to be in the middle of broad daylight. I assumed that Bruce was sick. This was him, like he was off that day and laid up in bed, so Alfred's reading to him as like a treat.
Maybe.
But again, when I was a kid,
Right.
you just want the TV rolled in.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
When you're sick, it's just like, all right, leave me the hell alone and just let me be on my Sega all day. Like, I don't want some old guy sitting reading friggin' Oliver Twist to me.
Hey, they live in a different world.
So if Bruce is around 35, 36 in this movie, which is set in 97-ish, then if he's maybe 8 there, so Bruce would be born early 60s, so this is around 1970, so I guess you don't...
Yeah.
I mean, household video games aren't a thing yet.
Well, multiple TVs, at least in England, weren't a thing.
Multiple TVs might be a thing only because the Waynes are wealthy, but... even like roll in a TV is probably not a thing yet.
No,
but
it weigh a ton.
It's still just surprising to me that like this doesn't seem. He seems too old to have a story read to him.
It'd be great if it was like the scene of Alfred hauling a giant old TV up into the room,
Dragging it.
destroying his back, and then them watching like the Brady Bunch or something together.
God, those CRTs weighed a lot.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh god.
Boy,
yeah.
did they!
But yeah, that's all the notes I got for this minute. Does anyone else have any minutes for minute 91?
Nope, noted out.
Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
I don't.
We will head off into the dark night. I'm coughing. Oh, Jesus. My voice went too low. Would our wonderful guests like to tell people where they can be found online or promote anything? Phil, you can go first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on this podcast. It's called Twofold. We used to be part of the Matrix Minute. We used to do the first Matrix, and Alex over here has also been a guest, and so has wow. I almost said Jonathan. I was gonna
I
say
never
Niall,
got to be.
but
I was scheduled to, and then I had to
I
cancel
know
for some
you
reason. didn't I? I
were.
can't remember what it was.
It was always a disappointment. It was a disappointment. We were
Hey, get
very
me back
sad.
on for a special about the new one.
I was very okay. We'll give that a shot. You know, I'd like that. That would be great. And we used to do that, but that's over. We only did the first one. But we are going to talk about Matrix 4 because it's happening. We can't believe it. But also, we're on our current podcast where we talk about 2 movies. One new, one old that's similar to it, called Twofold, where it's me and my cousin Tim. Both of us have a background in movies and storytelling, photography, and all that kind of stuff. And if you like it, you can go to twofoldpodcast.com.
Hey, check that out, everybody. Great shows, but both the Matrix 1 and Twofold. Listen, people.
Thanks.
And Alex, what have you got?
Yeah, you can check out. I've done 2 shows that have now completed their runs and gone to the great beyond. Galaxy Quest Minute and Independence Day Minute, covering the obvious. I think I don't even remember. Galaxy Quest was so long ago, I don't remember who the hell was on it. But
It's amazing
but
how
yeah,
quick
check
you
those
forget.
out. Yeah.
I think Paul Scheer was on it, though. You're bound to remember that.
Yeah, yes. No, I vividly remember Paul Scheer being on Galaxy Quest. But, yeah. Yeah, check those out. Their runs are now completed, so you no longer have to wait for my lazy, too busy with other stuff editing schedule to get episodes. They're all out on time, and you'll wonder why I'm apologizing all the time for episodes being late.
Yeah, in retrospect, you probably should have just not mentioned it, I suppose.
Yeah, it happens. I understand.
Things pop up. And, as usual, come and speak to us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, and then look us up on Twitter, Instagram. We're on all the usual. We even have a TikTok, but we've never, ever used it. It exists.
That's what people our age do.
Yes, people in their mid-30s regularly go on TikTok. And do join us again on Wednesday for more exciting Bat Minute action.
Next time, coming to you from the Klaatu Nebula, no Batgirls allowed. A persistent DDoS has one determined damsel very distressed, as she fishes, with a PH you understand, for a furtive fogey's password address. But as Bob's about to cache in her microchips and ram her head into a firewall in frustration, could a portrait placed near by a careless coot be the key to unlocking this computer loot? Join us on Wednesday for some cyber sleuthing, Earthlings. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.